Good morning and welcome to Dobutsu Kyoji, the Animal Liberation Temple, where we are at the service of the spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. It looks like our live stream is up and going on both YouTube and Facebook. Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Tani. We'll get started with the updates. This morning seems to be pretty foggy, and it's been pretty cold. We have been experiencing longer days, which means using our generator a little bit less. I had to use it last night, but that's because I decided to take a shower yesterday. So that's the balance. If I take a shower, it uses the hot water, and then to replenish the hot water means that the water heater has to run, which uses a lot of electricity, which means I'll have to run the generator at night. But all the animals got fed breakfast this morning, so the ducks are still in their duck feeding area. Breve, Grave, Amanda, and Renee are all doing really well. Lucy's right here next to me. She's doing really well. She ran out with me this morning to get started with the morning chores, and she immediately ran back in the house and laid back down. A little too cold for her sometimes. The goats down the hill, Rob, Matt, and Philip are doing really well. Our tortoises are, looks like a couple of our tortoises are out and about this morning. That's really good to see. Moving extremely slow, as they do in the winter. The turkeys are right over here to my right. Priya and Harriet finishing their breakfast. The roosters, Jimmy over here is doing really well, and Jax over on the other side is doing well. Lucy, I know, baby. Okay. The guinea fowl friend, Wendy, she's doing really well. Our roosters on the main aviary side, Sabrina, May, Brad, Hard One, Mr. Black, Elton, and Magnus are doing well. The hens on the main aviary side, Gwen, Alice, Melissa, Melinda, Sunny, Dora, and Daniela are all doing really well. Oh, good morning, Yolanda. Before I don't want to miss anybody. Our rat friends, Yamabushi and Hasu, are doing really good. Oh, good morning, Pauline. So good to see you here as well. I know. Our dove friend, I don't know if you can hear her, but Sequoia or him, Sequoia is doing really well. And then, of course, we had the Cornwall Corner with the Cornish girls and one boy. They're all doing really well. Poppy, Aster, Ivy, Azalea, Peony, Cynthia, Lotus, Edward, Magnolia, Hazel, Sage, Marigold, Camilla, Hydrangea, Holly, and Zinnia. They're all doing super good this morning. And then, of course, our pigeon friends I saw this morning, got them their food and breakfast. FP, Champagne, Appletini, Tulin, Sasha, Yo-Yo, Petey, Ricky, Spencer, Shambles, Beluga, Beth, Pee-wee, Cascade, August, Frankie, Rufus, Harper, Elliot, Stickers, Boba, Kismet, Farah, Angus, Pandora, Jones, Finch, Sin, Harriet, Lago, Fred, Tremonto, Halo, Vin, Capone, Thimble, Percy, Pacino, Lacey, and Sasha the second. So those are all of our residents doing really well. The wild rats, I know, are doing really well because they are everywhere. Starting to make a little bit of a hassle, but I'm learning to live with them. They started stealing my little coffee pods. Yeah, that's not great. Maybe I'll figure something around that next. Maybe I'll. Sorry, just making sure my live streams are up. You know, a lot of people said that they're not on Facebook and that they want me to make a live stream on, other platforms. So I started one on YouTube, and it gets very little watches, and not many people tune into that. But it's still there for folks who think that's worth it. Not sure what Lucy's barking at yet. But our other wild friends, the little finches are about. I saw a couple blue jays this morning. That's really wonderful. I haven't seen the cows and horses up here yet, but I saw them last night. What is it, Lucy? Do you see something? Is there something there? Do I need to go look? Okay. So when Lucy barks, to encourage her, I, make sure I check and see what's going on. Is there something I need to see? Alright, thank you, Lucy. Good girl. Yeah, so, like I said, I encourage Lucy to bark at, the coyotes or bobcats that might be coming around. Usually, if they hear Lucy bark, that's they can hear that she's a big dog and they don't want to come around. And that's all that's really needed, is just for her to be able to bark and them hear that. And it keeps all the the predators away from our chicken friends. So definitely something I like to encourage, especially also the fact that that's something I've always encouraged in my dogs, is their barking, and that's because that's how they talk, that's how they communicate, and I don't want to discourage them from communicating. It's kind of like when you're raising a child, it probably shouldn't discourage them from talking. That's them practicing how to communicate and how to navigate the world, and that's the way Lucy navigates the world, is by talking, barking, and communicating, and that's her way of communicating. So I definitely don't want to discourage that. Same with my roosters, communicating. There's this awful practice of debarking and decrowing of dogs and roosters. I ran across it once in Arizona. It's a really horrible thing where they cut the vocal cords of these precious animals. And it sounds really, really sad and horrible. So it's definitely something I want to make sure I encourage in all of our residents is to be vocal. Good morning, Pastor Robert Monroe. So good to see you here as well. So the other updates I have, we're on a building pause again as we are trying to continue raising funds for any of our next building projects. However, a lot of them did get finished. Our bathroom got finished, which is really good. Like I mentioned, I took a shower yesterday because we have our shower up and running, complete with hot water. It's an outdoor shower. It's not the greatest. I didn't think too far ahead about that in the winter. It's kind of difficult to take a shower in the winter because it's so cold. Um, but it's will get me by, and I don't take showers too often. Um, so that'll work. In the summer, maybe this will be a lot nicer, but it's an outdoor shower, so it works for what we need up here. The The electric fence got finally installed. My good friend Rocky came up and volunteered here, and we spent half a day just installing the electric fence. And the electric fence is set up high, and it's mainly to keep the bobcats from tearing through the netting. Um, and I have no idea if it works because I've never installed an electric fence. It's just something I'm kind of still experimenting with, and hopefully I'll have some friends come up who are a little bit more experienced with these things, who can take a look at our setup and see what I need to do, if it's working or not working. I have electric fence testers, but those only help me as good as I know how to use them. I don't really know how to use an electric fence tester. So I do have an electric fence tester, I just don't know how to use it. Oh, I'm so glad that Pastor Rob's rescue babies love hearing the residents here. Um, I'm sure it makes any of our companion animals who are at home watching the live stream kind of perk up when they hear the sounds of the roosters and other birds. Some of the other. Oh, we also built our turkey shelter, which the turkeys don't use. But the other chickens use it, and sometimes during the day the turkeys use it, and maybe we'll see in the rain. Maybe they'll start using it a little bit more in the rain. But that's one of the struggles that we have here, is that we'll build all these really nice buildings and shelters for the residents here, and they may or may not even use them. Um, and that's just kind of the struggle that we deal with here, and we learn as we go. One of the projects I have for this year is to rebuild the guinea fowl area so that we could possibly take in more residents. Maybe some more birds will go over there. But right now it's not really safe, as the netting is torn up and the fencing is starting to come up. So I'm going to have to reconcrete the fencing, redo the netting, and kind of make sure that area is safe again before putting residents in there. So that's another project I have coming up. Hopefully I'll be able to afford to do that project, because we do want to be able to have the ability to take on more residents. Another project we have is to build out our back area for the tortoises, and maybe some other residents as well. We're thinking maybe larger residents might go back there, maybe goats or sheep, or the like would go in the back area. So I need to build out that area a little bit better. So all these projects we have going on, that are all on pause right now until we can get better funding. Another thing that I wanted to do this year was to possibly adopt another little puppy, maybe a little dog for Lucy, as both of us are still struggling with the loss of Jingda, and think that given Jingda's story, I think the best way to honor him would be to adopt another little dog. However, adoption fees are really high, very expensive, and it's something that, um, as a sanctuary, we're very not used to. We're not used to paying any sort of adoption fee for residents. Um, so that's not something that we usually do, and it's not something I'm not completely sure if I'm comfortable doing. However, I want to say that I do understand the reason why there is adoption fees. It's to help pay for their medical care. It's to help the shelter to continue existing. They're a very needed part of our community. Um, so I'm not necessarily opposed to paying a adoption fee. It's just something that our temple does not budget for at all. We never budget to um, pay adoption fees. So it kind of puts us in a weird situation, and it's something I don't know will happen or not. We'll see. I haven't run any fundraisers for January, um, and so I'm still kind of thinking of what our next fundraiser might be. But we're definitely going to be in need here. Um, any bit of our December fundraising that we've already raised has pretty much been spent on kind of upgrading our fence lines and the electric fence and finishing up our other projects and the fuel costs and food costs. As human food goes up, so does our non-human animal resident food cost goes up. So if you're struggling with paying for groceries, we feel your pain. Our residents also we struggle to keep up with their food demands. Yeah, good news. Shower, electric fence. That's all really good news. Yeah, and Heidi Holfield likes it, Yolanda Jackson and me. So the idea of building a maybe a second smaller house or a second house for folks to come and visit here is something that I've always wanted to do, um, but has not been on the priority list. But it's definitely something we want to do. Maybe this year, if we can raise the funds, we'll be building a second house for people to come and visit. As it is right now, we've had a couple people, from around the country and around the world, reach out to me specifically to, want to stay up here for a couple weeks, and we'd love to have them. Um, Unfortunately, there's just no place currently for them to stay up here, unless they wanted to get a local motel or something. There's only this small house here right now. We've had residents stay in the medical building. Um, that's very uncomfortable. Probably not the best. It could work, but also the medical building is really on reserve for our our residents who have medical need that need to be in there, or for a quarantine space for new residents. So it's something I don't really like to use for human animals. But let us start with the sutras and prayers, as always dedicated to our non-human animal friends. It's of great benefit for them to hear these prayers, so if they're nearby. It's of great benefit for them to hear them as they are dedicated to them. Yolanda asked, is motels expensive here? I would say yes. I think the nearest motel, which is pretty close, it's like 5 minutes drive down the road. But I think it's like around $130 a night, which I think is expensive. So we'll start with the recitation of the Great Heart of Wisdom Sutra, found on page 4 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Maka hanya haramita shingyo kanji zai bosatsu gyojin hanya haramita jiso kengo onkai kudo isai kuyaku sari shiki fuku kufu shiki shiki zoku ze kuku zoku ze shiki juso gyo shiki yaku bunyo ze shari shi ze shohoku so fusho fumetsu fuku fujo fuzo fugen ze koku chumo shiki mujo so gyo shiki mugen ni bizet shin ni mo shiki shoko mi soku ho mugen kai nai shi mu shiki kai mu myo yaku mu myo jin nai shi mu ro shi yaku mu ro shi jin mu ku shu metsu do mu chi yaku mu tokui mu so toko bodai sa tai hanya haramita koshin mukege komuku funri sai tendo muso kugyo nehan sanze shobutsu e hanya haramita kotoku wa nokutara sanyaku san bodai kochi hanya haramita zedai shinju zedai myo shuze mujo shuze mutodo shu no jo isai kushin jitsu fu koko zetsu hanya haramita shuzoku zetsu shuwatsu gyate hara gyate hara so gyate boji sawaka hanya shingyo Negu waku wa koro kurokoをもってあんまねく一切に及ぼし我ら年だ富な友の仏道を上善ことを自法三世佛子孫菩薩佛子孫菩薩もこさもこほじゃほろみ We now recite the refuge prayer in Tibetan and then English, page 8 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Dangye jadan zagi janam la janje paduk tekni gebsuchi. Daki jinsu gepe sonam ge jola pender sange jupar shol. The Buddha, Dharma, and excellent assembly of the Sangha. Until I attain enlightenment, in these I take refuge. By my practice of the 6 perfections, may all sentient beings attain the state of Buddhahood. We now recite the 4 great Bodhisattva vows, Shigi Seigan, page 9 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Shujo Muhen Segando Bono Mujin Segandan Homon Muryo Seganga Botsuro Mujo Seganjo. However numerous sentient beings, I vow to enlighten them all. However inexhaustible my delusions, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the dharmas, I vow to master them all. However endlessly enlightened way, I vow to follow it fully. And we now recite the 6 vows to our dear animal friends. However numerous my dear animal friends, I vow to liberate them all. However diverse the methods of animal liberation, I vow to support them all. However unheard their voices, I vow to speak out for them all. However painful and inexhaustible the methods of suffering, I vow to bear witness to them all. However infinite the cages and tanks, I vow to empty them all. However difficult animal liberation, I vow to achieve it completely. We now recite the Vajrasattva Purification Mantra, page 11 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajrasattva Te Nopatista Te Dome Bhava Sutto Me Bhava Suppo Me Bhava Anurata Me Bhava Sava Sitta Me Prayacha Sava Karma Sitta Me Ticham Sri Yam Guru Hum Aha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sava Tathagata Vajrama Me Mucha Vajri Bhava Mahasamamya Sapaha. Let me catch up with these comments. Yeah, I love all these people brainstorming about ideas on how to kind of make things a little bit easier for folks to visit. Because that's one of the things I really wish we had is more visitors and a little bit more help around the sanctuary. Kind of allow me a little bit more time to meditate and a little bit more time to work on these larger projects. So, you know, some of the ideas were, sorry, I have to go back. There we go. Yes. Absolutely. Should live in the sanctuary. So, this idea of bringing your tent to stay overnight probably won't work. There's nothing level up here. And even if you found a level area, which you might be able to find if you venture outside of the fence line, the cows will destroy it immediately, with you in there or not. The cows here do not like anything foreign on their in their grassland, and they will trample a tent for sure. So a tent is not a safe place to stay overnight. And there's no real space inside of the fence line. Maybe with the chickens. that might be maybe an option, um, if you wouldn't mind staying with the chickens in a tent. Possibly, don't recommend it in the winter and in the summer. The hottest days might be a little rough, but you know the fall and spring might be just perfect weather for that. Um, Possibly an option. Um, Also, remember we have a lot of rats, so also have to be okay with living with the rats. Ideally, it would be we would build a house. Motels are expensive here. I could live in a motel, rent a car. So, yeah, like somebody said, it was like 4,000 a month to stay in a hotel here. That sounds about right. Which is one of the interesting things is like um, that's halfway to finish building the house. This house costs about $10,000 to build, um, but I've gotten better at building, and I can probably get one built for around 7 or 8 thousand. So, you know, if somebody wanted to stay up here for a month, then you know they basically halfway paid for building a new house anyway. Um, so I don't really recommend staying up here for a month in a motel. Maybe if you wanted to for like a week or two, that's probably not a bad idea to stay in a motel. Um, and then my mother said getting up that mountain that I live on is not easy. Narrow and when wet, almost unpassable. Yeah, it's not passable by anything but you know my large truck anymore. It used to be that I would see cars be able to get it, but I think the road has really um, deteriorated over the years, and I don't think any car could get up here. And even a small SUV, even an all-wheel drive SUV, would have trouble, um, especially in the rain. It's not even possible. Um, but I really wouldn't mind driving people up and down the hill on my truck. Also, it's not a bad walk. I often just walk down the hill to my other smaller car down the hill to get around. So it's not a terrible walk. What do you see, Lucy? Yeah, it's very beautiful, even on rainy days. I do recommend people come and visit. It is really nice. I do wish I had more amenities for folks to make that a little bit easier. Although, you know, we do have our shower and we do have privacy curtains and we do have a compostable toilet. So that is a little bit better than what we had before. So things are improving up here and becoming a little bit nicer for folks to come and visit. We still don't get a lot of visitors. We don't even get a lot of volunteers yet. And that's probably because most likely our volunteers would come locally. They all probably work. It is probably an all-day event to come up here and go back down. You know, it takes time to get up the hill. It takes time to get down the hill. You have to drive out here to Martinez, which if people are local, they probably live in San Francisco, Berkeley, and you know Oakland, the larger cities around here. So it's you know, it's all of those different things. Yeah, if you you can Google our address and it'll put you at the house down the hill. And if you just travel west of that, you'll actually look for the pond because that's really visible on Google Earth, and you'll see the whole sanctuary from Google Earth, all the my house and all the other larger structures from an aerial view, and kind of can get an idea of you know what this space looks like. Very beautiful. checking the live streams, making sure we're still good. Yeah, cow attack that happens up here. Cows are very gentle and very nice, but they also like to play, which can be dangerous if you don't know how to navigate yourself around cows. And they also like to, trample things that are not supposed to be there. They've really destroyed any car that's been up here. My truck is, um, luckily, it's a farm truck. It can get banged up a lot, but it is getting banged up a lot. I just noticed my tail light is broken, and that's because they ram that tail light with their horns. So that'll have to get it replaced eventually. Just kind of what it takes to share this area with our non-human animal friends. Sometimes cows can be quite destructive if they want. Definitely teaches me a lot of patience, and I'm very blessed to be able to have so many opportunities to practice that patience and compassion for our dear residents here, especially our little cow friends who who like to be destructive, but they're very cute. We have Bee, who is a recently rescued calf. She's really, he is really small, and he came up to the gate the other day, and it was open. I had the gate open because the dog was running in and out. And he came up right to the gate, and he stopped at the doorway and didn't want to go into the gate. Very polite little guy. He just kind of stood there and then, gave me a big moo. And it's quite a precious thing to see. Just a lot of that kind of thing that you get to bear witness to up here is being able to learn all the personalities of our residents and be able to spend time with these residents in a way that they're can exercise as much freedom as they please, while still being kept safe, and it really nourishes their own personalities to come out. Like you'll see here, some of my roosters are have a lot of energy and like to bite, and that's okay because I have a lot of patience for birds, and it always makes me happy when they jump up and give me little nips because again, they're just expressing their personality to me, and I feel honored that they feel comfortable doing that. Whenever a larger animal comes into your space, often the reaction is to run away out of fear. So I like to see that they're not having that fear reaction, that they'd rather give me that little nip out of either curiosity or just to say, hey, this is my space and you need to back up. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them telling me to give them more space. So that kind of brings me to my talk, which I wanted to talk about, which was I think that sometimes we need to listen very carefully to our non-human animal friends and adjust to what their needs are. And I think as animal lovers and rescuers and folks who have a deep affinity, like the folks who watch this live stream have, are really good at that. And then I question and I wonder, do we apply that to all beings? To human animals as well as maybe to some of the animals that we don't like as much. Specifically, our rat friends and rodent friends and insect friends. Um, when, a big bug flies into our face, do we realize that, take a second to look at the situation around us and go, oh, did I like step too near their home? Did I enter a space where they may be taking care of their family? And these should be maybe our immediate thoughts before our thoughts of, getting rid of them or being upset with them for flying into our face. Do we think about those things first as our first reaction? And this is having, that compassionate mind and compassionate heart, or compassionate reaction, reacting to every situation with compassion. Our dear animal friends afford us that great practice. And then do we practice that when we have to interact with the rest of the human world? And I'm not making excuses for some of the bad behavior our human animal friends have. They have a lot of bad behavior. And with human animals have the capacity to probably know better. However, our reaction, is it immediate compassion? I always think it's okay to later reflect on the situation and go, okay, this is harmful behavior, and I may need to distance myself from this human being. And I think this is okay to do, and we should be doing. However, our initial reaction should be compassion. To realize that some human being might be acting out aggressively, maybe flying into our face, and to take that initial reaction of compassion and wonder, am I, disrupting their family? Are they trying to protect themselves or others? Are they lashing out because they're in a lot of pain? So having that initial compassion reaction, rather than the reaction of violence or the reaction of dislike, hatred, these things are poisonous to ourselves. And again, not to make excuses for human beings, because I think some human beings are acting out poorly, and I think some human beings are doing things that are hurtful, that they should know better. And I think it's okay to have that second thought. Once you've reacted with compassion and you've taken that step back and allowed that space to happen, to then take on that realization that, okay, maybe I just need to make space between myself and that person. Maybe I need to protect myself a little bit better by avoiding those types of situations. And the same can be applied to our non-human animal friends. You know, if our first reaction to the big bug that flies into our face is, compassion and understanding that they may be trying to protect themselves, they may be trying to protect their family, we've maybe invaded their home. Having that initial reaction with compassion and then learning that we may need to protect ourselves, maybe this insect is poisonous, and so we need to take precautions and be careful and realize that this is their home, and we maybe need to find a new route to go every morning. Maybe we need to be more cautious of their home, and we need to give them a little bit more space to protect ourselves and them. So that's kind of like my talk, is the idea of reacting with compassion first. That we should practice this initial reaction of compassion, and not dislike or hatred or violence, but the initial reaction of compassion. And then once we've reacted with compassion, then we can take a step back and analyze what the next steps to do that would protect ourselves and them. The older I get, the more I want to live amongst animals as far away from humans, with the exception of a few, as possible. Um, I understand that feeling, Yolanda. Um, and I would challenge us. I like this next comment: the fleas biting us and our companion animals. Um, I would challenge ourselves to view all human animals as animals and non-human animals as animals. Hence, the Animal Liberation Temple, right? Inclusive of all beings. And sometimes practicing compassion for humans is the most difficult because they're our own species. And I won't deny that sometimes living with our own species gets more and more difficult as we witness all the destruction around us. And that's probably why we need to, create safer spaces for us. Maybe we do need more space away from other humans. But at the same time, as humans, we have the responsibility to fix this mess. Humans are responsible for climate change, for the destruction that we bring upon animals, the mass killing of animals in our food system. Humans are responsible for that. And we have a responsibility to fix these things, to make them better for our non human animal friends. And unfortunately, we can't do it alone. Unfortunately, I can't live in a cave and meditate my whole life and hope to save animals. That's just not how we make change. So often we need to work with other human beings to create the change that we desperately need for our dear animal friends. And even working with some human beings that we may not like, or at least interacting with human beings that we don't like, who upset us and make us want to create that distance. Sometimes we need to draw closer to these folks in order to make the change that we need for our dear animal friends. So I encourage folks to interact with the world. I encourage folks to interact with human beings because we need that change. We need Yolanda to be that beautiful example of what human beings should be, and the way, and it's through Yolanda's interaction with other human beings that we become inspired to be like Yolanda. Yeah. Yolanda talks about our species is very destructive, and I do not see much hope in our species. Things will only get worse. Yes, our species is very destructive. Yes, there might be not much hope for our species, and yes, things might only get worse. But how quickly will this world get worse? How much worse will it be for our non human animal friends? Without people like Yolanda, without people like Neil, without people like Paula, without people um, like all the great people that tune into our services, to all our good friends that are out there fighting for our dear animal friends. Without you on this planet, it would be so much worse for our non-human animal friends. And and all you folks that I just mentioned are all human beings. You're all part of this species. It's our responsibility as a whole. It's the human karma that we have to face this destruction, and at the very least slow it down, and at the very least help to save and cause the least amount of harm to our non-human animal friends. It's our responsibility to do that. A big part of why I started the Animal Liberation Temple was to encourage my human animal friends to to actually do something, to actually take action, to actually stay around, to be a part of the change that is needed for non-human animal friends. So I won't go too far much longer on that. That is kind of what my talk was today, and I hope folks understand. And I would love to elaborate that individually and help folks who think this world is hopeless. I feel that. I often feel that we're hopeless in this plight for our dear animal friends. But I am encouraged every day by looking into the eyes of Lucy, into seeing Dora play, and seeing Priya, look for her next meal. I'm encouraged by our non-human animal friends to continue existing as humans that can make a difference. All right, we'll now conclude today's services with the Animal Liberation Prayer, the dedication of merit, and our quick tour, because I need to let everybody out because they have all finished their breakfast. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are subject to unbearable pain in labs throughout the world, be free of all suffering. May alternatives to animal experimentation, vivisection, and dissection be implemented immediately. May bodhicitta, the quality of compassion that leads to enlightenment, fill the hearts of those who imprison them. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who suffer endless days, months, and years, locked in tiny cages unable to move, be filled with peace and calm. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are forcibly taken from their families, be reunited, and may all families be able to stay together. May the hearts of those who work in slaughterhouses, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends be filled with bodhicitta, so the very thought of harm is purified. May they never kill again, and may the slaughterhouse lines, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends become immediately empty. May no animal be afraid or depressed. May their bodies be free of injury, disease, and illness. May the mutilation of their bodies be forever ceased. May those who need homes or have been driven from them find shelter, plentiful food, and water. May there be liberation for those tortured for fur, entertainment, or who are hunted. May those who believe that they are superior to our brother and sister animals develop perfect equanimity, and may they realize in their hearts that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, the potential to be completely free of suffering, and that they are not ours to kill or exploit. May the billions of land and sea-dwelling sentient beings who are abused, exploited, and killed due to greed, hatred, and ignorance be free of suffering. May all the nets, hooks, blades, projectiles, traps, snares, cages, pens, tanks, lethal restraints, saddles, reins, prods, bait, poison, and all instruments used to harm, exploit, and dominate our dear animal friends be forever abolished. May all human and non-human sentient beings live together in harmony, equanimity, and achieve perfect enlightenment quickly. May we all experience happiness, safety, freedom, and animal liberation in this very lifetime. We now recite the dedication of merit to our dear animal friends. Throughout our many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue we have accomplished, including this aspiration for peace, and all that we will ever attain, this we offer for the benefit of all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends. May suffering, exploitation, and unnecessary death decrease for every being, while wisdom, bliss, and compassion increase in this and every future life. May we clearly and instantly perceive the plight of our dear animal friends with the urgency and seriousness they deserve, and our every action leads up to complete liberation. May we quickly attain enlightenment and work ceaselessly for liberation of all sentient beings. Sorry, folks, I need to switch the microphone. Get to see the tortoises are out today. Yeah, Lucy, you want to go out? You can see, pretty foggy morning. Hi, Sabrina May. There's an example. Sabrina May was rescued by my dear friend Sarah. You know, a human being stepped in to rescue Sabrina May. So I wonder, you know, sometimes without some human beings, maybe Sabrina May would have, you know, suffered a horrible end to his life. And he didn't because a human being stepped in. So sometimes our dear animal friends do need us humans to step in. Here's all the girls using, the girls and Elton using the turkey shelter. Here's Sunny over here, probably laying an egg. Oh, there's an egg. I gotta get that one out of there. There's Priya. And here's Harriet. Here's my sweet Dora, looking super healthy. You're doing so good, Dora. There's Magnus. A hard one. And our duck friends, who did not finish their breakfast, but it looks like Harriet wants to go and finish it for them. So recently, we have not been feeding the eggs back to our chickens and turkeys. And that's because, one, they're laying less, and two, we're trying to keep their weight under control, and they're kind of getting a little big. So we've been donating our eggs to a wildlife rescue. So one of my dear friends takes care of opossums who have been rescued and will be re-released into the wild. But when they're babies, they need to eat things like eggs and yogurt. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to donate yogurt, but I can donate eggs. So we donate eggs to a group of opossums who live at a wildlife rescue. What you doing, Lucy? All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here at the Animal Liberation Temple, where we are at the service of the spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. Hope to hear folks throughout the week. Please message me if you have any questions or concerns or just want to talk. I'm here for all of you, all of my dear human animal friends, as well as my non-human animal friends. So thank you all very much. I look forward, if you're in town, please visit and please share our live streams and our posts. Those help us a lot. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful week.